First of all, who here has ever met or heard Melanie speak? Okay, great. You are in for a treat. You really, really are. I just want to talk a little bit about what Tanya and I do and how we met. We met about 4 years ago through 6 Amers. Who here is a 6 Amer or been on 6 Amers? Okay, a few. So it started during COVID, and they started a great way to get together virtually when we all couldn't get together in the office, and it kind of spread, and they do it Tuesdays and Thursdays on the East Coast at their time 6, and then 6 on the West Coast. And they'd have like it'd be a book of the month that we'd all read. There would be like what's your word or intention of the month, so you could focus on that. But it was a great way to get together. And so Tanya and I started getting on early at 5:30, and we get to know agents around the country, and that's how we met Antoinette. And there's been so many agents here that we've met that way. And so about a half hour before we started calling it coffee talk. And so you get to know other agents. And I thought that when Robert was talking about collaboration without ego, and I love that. I never really felt it. We didn't feel it until 6 Amers and getting to know other agents. I see another thing in here is another one of my favorite coaches, Lorna Hines. Raise your hands if you've ever been Lorna Hines coach. I see. So what I want to do afterwards is that all the Lorna people get together. We're going to take a picture beside them. But it was the Lorna Hines people also that I felt were collaborative, that were so collaborative and sharing. You've got Raziel in here. I learned the buyer broker from that guy. Okay. And so, but it's about collaboration and helping others. And referrals are great and they're wonderful, but when you can learn and share from other agents who already have that superpower that they have down, and they can share that to help you, and it helps your business so you put more money in your pocket, that's incredible. And I felt that through the 6 Amers. And so Tanya and I now started doing a monthly Zoom call. We call it Connections Coffee Talk. We do it on typically the first Thursday of every month. And we have different speakers that come in and we interview them. Same type of format, a little bit more of ours. But we also started about on our 4th year is doing a third Thursday. The third Thursday of every month is a in-person networking social. And last night was in San Jose. We've had it here. We've had it here in the Burlingame office that you organized with Dave Cunningham. And so, but it's around the Bay Area every third Thursday. And it's a great way just to network, because most of the referrals that we find aren't always across the country. They're right here within Northern California. That's where most of the business is coming from. And so getting to know other agents and collaborating with them is what it's all about, in collaboration and referrals. And so, but I've been down in the Silicon Valley office. I was the old APR. Everyone says stop calling it old APR, but it's on it, yes. Because we're all new and fresh with Robert Redkin and Compass. And so I've been with in the real estate since 2000. But I met Tanya. We joined forces, and she's my business partner, best friend, collaborator. She's up in the Danville office.
Hi, good morning. Thank you all for being here. So my name is Tanya Jones. I work in the East Bay. I've been living and working in that area since 1998. Don't do math. And my office is Danville, but I work all of that East Bay area. Such as John mentioned, we both worked at APR for a very long time without realizing we didn't know each other. It wasn't until 6 Amers when, we were both on and started to get on early and started chatting with other agents and really realized what collaboration without ego was really all about. Because in coming over to Compass, that was a foreign concept to me. I didn't have an office where everybody collaborated in the office. As I moved over, I moved to Paragon. Some of you may know that one, but they had 4 brokerages in the city and Marin, and we had 1 office in Danville. And about 3 months before Paragon got married to Compass, I had popped over for Milan Penel. So my learning curve just kept going. I jumped over to Paragon. I think we're married to Compass. I was part of the dowry, and I just went with the flow. And then, of course, 2020 hit, and luckily, we had upper management from the East Bay who started the 6 Amers, and that's when I really started to get to know people from the rest of the country. And we started collaborating and chatting. We started to learn more about people instead of just agents in the business. When we were on there, we talk about family life, there's some real estate in there, but it's a really low topic. It's really about what's going on with everybody personally and experiences. And so highly encourage you to jump on. When John and I started collaborating, it was really through that 5:30 call. And then, you know, he would call afterwards and we would maybe talk a little bit more about something else. And then we decided to do, or I was doing a coaching and he decided he wanted to join in on that coaching program. So we would collaborate on that. And then we just kind of kept going. I have a team in the East Bay. I work with Lorraine Hawkins. We've got Aubrey Book on our team. And John was kind of like, hey, I kind of like what you have going on out there. The collaboration's really great. So we brought him in. So we are a team, but it's a collaborative team. We share VAs, and we have a lot of people call us from other parts of the nation and ask about our team setup. So if anyone's curious on how to network and build in a team with somebody who is not in your immediate area, who's not in your office, please feel free to reach out. We also share free VAs. And if you've got any curiosity about that, we're happy to share about that too. We've figured a few things out. And lately we work with them a lot with AI, and we figured a few things out with that too. So we're always happy to share. We did pass out some cards that have our information on there. It's a little map that I created many years ago through Compass Marketing Team. Thank you, marketing team. You're awesome. And I use that to collaborate when I go to events like Compass Retreat. I'm part of Tom Berry, previously Brian Buffini. I like coaching. Just recently, I finished up an amazing course with Melanie Klein, and I highly recommend. You guys are in for just the biggest treat. She is a national speaker, TEDx speaker, author, Compass coach, life development, money mastermind, you name it. She's got some words of wisdom for you. I'm excited for you, and welcome, Melanie Klein.
Oh, that's perfect. You made the introduction, but I just want to make sure that everybody understands this is the beginning of our business planning season. And Melanie is our first speaker. This is part of Business 2.0. So today is the first session. Melanie's really going to be talking to us kind of about, I think some of it's going to be motivational from what I can even see from just talking to you this morning. But I think that Melanie is going to be the core of all of this for us. Like, hey, it's important to have that business plan. Then I just want to give you, for all of you, October 15th, Menlo Park. It also will be streamed for anybody that is wanting to join. That will be Mike Simonson. He's our chief economist here at Compass, and he will be talking about the rest of the year, what is projected there, and what he sees for the beginning. It's probably going to be a little bit difficult to project, but at least the first quarter, maybe into the first half of next year. That will be the second phase. The third phase, we're still waiting for a date. Will actually be an accounting firm coming in to help you with, how do I finance and budget for the year, all of my, expenses, things like that. So hopefully by the time you're done, come the end of November, you will have a dynamite business plan put together that you're confident with, that'll at least bring you into the first quarter of next year. So without further ado, I am so excited to introduce Melanie. And I don't know if she'll talk about it. You've got a great TEDx I watched. So when this is all over, you will love it.
Thank you so much. Okay, I have to be honest. I'm never quite sure where this is going to go. When I start, I already know this is going to be very different than Beach Street because there's a whole different energy happening in this office. I was telling Joanne I had never been to an event with realtors like this where they were sitting down early. Early, like 15, 20 minutes early in the seat. So that tells me a lot about who you have and leadership here and how lucky you are, right? I know some of you are not from this office, but nonetheless, that's really incredible. So I know that today is going to be a little bit different based on things that we talked about and also whatever needs that you have here. With that said, you do have this little workbook. First I want to tell you, I would say I will not insult your intelligence by walking through this because I know you're fully capable of walking through this. What I will do is I will refer to different parts and you'll naturally find that what I'm talking about today, when you do this on your own, And I would say complete it in the next week, or you know what, before October 1st. Let's do that. And you complete this before October 1st. You will find that the things that are in there, right, will naturally relate to what I'm talking to you about here. Now, I don't know if you know why you're here yet. Do you know why you're here? Did somebody tell you to be here? Maybe Mark told you to be here. I bet Mark told you to be here. Or Joanne told you to be here. Whatever reason you have to be here, it's really, really helpful to start to think about what is it that you actually need? What is it you want? It already increases the likelihood of you getting more out of it. I will share what my intention for all of you is on the back. And yes, there is a one mistake that my assistant didn't catch. It says summer, it should be Q4. A lot of times when I was a full-time professor, I used to tell my students, right, what I expected them to learn or what they should be looking for. Sometimes I gave them a prompt for reading before they would read it so that they knew what to watch out for. So I'm going to kind of do the same thing with you all today because you're that kind of group because you sat down early. By the end of this, I want you to really think about what you're committing and recommitting yourself to. Okay. Now it can be recommitting or committing because you may have not had, I find it hard to believe you're here with Joanne, but some of you may not have had any clear goals at the beginning of this year that you have to commit to or recommit to in the first place. And that's okay. Just because we're almost at the end of the year doesn't mean that you can't have real clarity and focus about what you're doing. So whether you're recommitting to something, committing to something new, or both, I want you to have some commitments that you're making to yourself for quarter four. The reason that that's really important, I was having a conversation with Mark and Joanne in the office, which that was very dynamic people, is, you know, there has to be a real strong sense of self-accountability. So I was telling them when I was a full-time professor, I would tell my students, here's the syllabus, we go over it. I'd have all of the other things, all the other tools available. I said, I can give you everything to be successful, but whether or not you use it is entirely up to you. How consistently you use it is entirely up to you. And my favorite thing is I always told them, whether you get an A or an F, they are both equally accessible and they both require about the same amount of work. Okay, so if an A, you put in the work, you probably can get that, right? I wasn't teaching like brain surgery classes. I was teaching sociology, research methods, things like that. But I said at the same time, an F is really accessible. If you just put in the work of, oh, tomorrow's class with Professor Klein, yeah, I'm not going to study. I know there's something to do, but no, it's Thursdays, which is the new Friday. So I'm going to go out drinking, whatever it is, right? You are making some really, really, really strong choices about what is important to you. And so when I used to give Fs, I would tell them, I am happy to give you this F because you clearly put in some time and energy for it. So very similarly, right, thinking about what you're going to commit and recommit to is part of you taking real ownership and accountability. The other thing is I want you to walk away with at least one or a few aha moments, insights, I call them golden nuggets or takeaways that you're going to use. Now, pro tip, she's freaking writing notes, so I told you we're related. You want to talk to somebody else, preferably who is here today, about whatever your takeaway was, because I would venture to guess they're going to have a couple others different than yours, right? We have our own personal filter in which we're interpreting things, we're listening to things, we're making sense of things. So if you talk to somebody else, first of all, if you're trying to explain the concept or what the insight was, why that was really potent to you, you are doing a really powerful job of integrating that into your own memory, right? Into your own understanding. And then the other part is you're probably going to pick up a couple other things that just flew right by that you're like, I didn't even hear that. I don't even remember that. But by having that conversation, you're offered a little bit more. So what it does, it increases the value that you are going to receive from the time that you're investing in being here today. Last thing, you're going to set a micro milestone. It's right here, right? It's going to be what is the action and what is the date? Well, you already have one, don't you? What is one that you already have? October 1st. Bam! October 1st, that's that A student, right? October 1st, you're going to go ahead and complete this. And knowing that the other pro tip that I gave you, what else would be really useful about completing this? Sharing this to somebody else. right? Going over this with somebody else. Then you have your self-accountability and you've just built in another line of accountability with this, which is with your partner, whoever that may be. And it doesn't have to be somebody here in this room, right? It can be somebody else as well. Maybe you just share this with them and they decide, oh, I want to do that too. But whatever it is, show this to somebody else. Tell somebody else, I'm going to have it completed by October 1st. Okay, so that's what you're going to kind of be looking for, what you're going to be thinking about while I'm speaking to you. Now, at the beginning, okay, you all, this is the Burlingame. The notes, I love it. I love the laser focus. It is so good. One of the first things that I ask is, do you remember your intentions and goals for 2025? So I'd love to ask, and you can write it down if you're going to start working on it now. Who remembers their intentions and goals? Did anybody have a word of the year? That all counts. So I saw like 5 hands. So nobody else had intentions or goals. Okay, how about this? Raise your hand if you did not have one or you don't remember. Okay, the math is kind of mathing. Okay, all right. Okay, so here's something really important to consider. When I was teaching research methods in junior, senior level college classes, the important thing was always that, hey, we need to understand things. We actually have to use our intellect. We have to use our reasoning. We have to look at theory. We have to understand things. But here's the thing, at the end of the day, when people tell me, okay, I totally understand that, I'm also like, I actually don't really give a shit if you understand. I really don't, because are you doing anything with that? And so, right, so from my research background, it was very much about like understanding, but then using that knowledge, that research, that data to do something with it, right? Actually having it be an applied science. This is not any different. So a lot of you, like, I love Tani's like, I love coaching, I love learning. So many Compass people do, which is why I adore Compass people. But I can tell you, most of them don't utilize what they're learning. They don't. A lot of them. Did you see all the nods of the head? So good. They don't utilize it, right? And so at that point, it really becomes useless information, in my opinion. If you're going to sign up for all of these trainings, or honestly, if you're even going to be sitting here in front of me and listening and writing things down, you are absolutely giving me your full attention for the most part. I'm not seeing you through the cubicles, right? But for the most part, I'm getting your full attention. That's pretty big. That's pretty big. You could be doing a whole bunch of other things. So I really want you to make sure that if you're investing your time and sitting here and writing it down, please do something with it. Everything needs to be utilized and applied. So for those of you that do remember what some of it, whether it's your word of the year or what your intention and goals were, I'd love to hear from a couple people what those things were. Didn't you have your hand up?
Me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's 3 things: have conversations, book appointments, and put the right people into my CRM.
And how'd that work out for you so far?
Good.
Okay, good.
I mean-
That's great. I'm not trying to trick you. Yeah, it's been good. Okay.
I mean, I was consistent.
Yeah, you were consistent. Did you track it?
I mean, sure, because, you know, if I make sales, then it's working.
Could you be even more consistent or be a little more streamlined with the way that you're doing it?
I lean on the Compass CRM, so it's kind of like if I can get rid of the blue dots every day, then
Amazing.
that's my tracking system.
Okay, fantastic. Great. What about you?
Literally, my word was track.
Oh, right.
And so it was my food, my calls.
Uh-huh. By the way, she can press 250 pounds with her legs.
215.
Did I say
So Donna Marie.
215.
Yeah, 215.
Yeah, so I'm tracking that.
Yep.
But what I also learned, and I have another phrase, which is prospecting cures everything.
Uh-huh.
My goal was, and I've reached 25% of my goal. I'm stunned. This has been my worst year in 49 years, and I worked every day. But it's head down, ass up. Keep it moving. And I'll give you numbers from my youth.
Yeah.
845 doors, 165 conversation, 13 listings taken and 13 closed. This year it's for schnilts, but it's just, you can't stop. It's the way to do it. And connecting with a human being, I have had to put big girl pants on. They don't stay on. I do a lot of chicken shit,
Okay, I
prospecting.
did not know we had a comedian in the audience. fantastic.
But I drop flyers off and that's my chicken shit, but I still meet people and talk to people.
Well, what I'm hearing, this is something that Joanne, Mark, and I were talking about in the office too, is like action begets action, energy begets energy, right? Like it's to keep that momentum. But what I'm also seeing, and hopefully you are all seeing, especially those of you, it's not a shame game here, it's just a data game, right? Who did not have intentions or goals. They're really helpful, right? They're really, really helpful because you actually have a place that you're going to. I mean, imagine, I love, like a leisurely, like exploratory drive, but I'm a little too busy for that most of the time. Like, I want to know where the frick I'm going, right? And when you have goals and intentions, you really know where you're going. And then you have different ways, especially you're all at Compass, to go ahead and track those things, which is really important. Now, before I go on, I do want to make a distinction. So you heard me say word of the year, intention, goal. They are not actually the same thing. And I think it's important to make a distinction. So who in here, aside from Tanya and John, want to go ahead and distinguish what do you think maybe is an intention versus a goal? How do you think they're different? Do a comparison contrast. Somebody in here. You're all smart.
Intention is something that I think.
Oh, yeah,
is
that's
sort
the
of like a
answer.
standard that we live up to and live by every day, and goal would be something you want to accomplish or achieve.
So very, very close. Very, very close. I'm going to work with that, start with that, but one more person now that she set it up for you. What do you think might be the difference? She was saying intention is kind of like a standard or something you live by, and a goal is something that you kind of work towards, right? What else do we want to add? There's another really important distinction to make.
A goal can be measured.
Yes, yes. Is that what you were going to say, Mark? Of course you were. I knew that. I knew that.
Well, yeah, because intention is something that you want to do, but you haven't committed to yet.
Well,
You know,
yes, but I'm gonna go back to that. You were right about the measurable. An intention is more like an overarching theme or generalized focal point, a little more broad brush, right? So John, his word of the year is thrive, okay? And he actually keeps his word of the year and word of the month on his phone. So every time he opens his phone, he sees that, which I really love. I think that's a great tip. Now, here's why this is important, okay? Because everything that you're doing, what I'm really looking for when I'm coaching people is how can we streamline, how can we create guardrails on our attention, energy, focus, and our investments? Do we actually know where they're going to? Otherwise, it gets really loosey-goosey, right? And it's like, and that's when you start to be like, well, I'm doing all the things, but it's not working. And it's like, well, I love this. I will say this. One, you're probably not doing all the things. Like, you have to get really honest about that. You're probably not. There's things that you're avoiding. There's things that you're not consistent with. There's things that you don't like that you don't want to do. There's things that you also choose not to get better at. So they're kind of half-assed, okay? Two, there are sometimes the people who are doing all the things really should not be doing all the things. They really shouldn't be doing all the things, right? It's like, why are you signing up for that? We were talking about it yesterday at Beach Street. September has been really full, right? The Tahoe Economic Summit, people had just gone to the Aspen Jazz Festival. Next week, Coast to Coast, the networking group is going to Nantucket. The Women of Compass retreat then happens. There's a lot happening right now. And one of my clients is going to everything, and I always have to like nail her down. Why are you going to these things? Right? Why are you going to these things? What is the purpose? What is the intent behind that? And she has to get really clear. And then she sets goals around that. So it gives us guardrails to make sure that the things that we're doing are the most effective and useful things for us to be doing. Looking around, well, you're really young, but most people are over 40, definitely over 30. But I would also say a lot of us are in our 50s and up, right? Yeah. And I know that when I got close to 50, so I'm 53 now, I was like, I want to make sure every ounce of energy that I utilize is being used well. And I know, Mark, for you, time, every moment is really important right now to make sure you get the greatest return of investment on your time and energy, right? That is living a very purposeful, deliberate life and having a very purposeful and deliberate business. And that makes it easier. It makes it more effective. Now, have you ever met anybody who loves chaos and drama? I have, yes. Okay. I will freely admit that was kind of exciting for me when I was young. I remember I was like, gosh, I'm not going to date him. He's so boring, when it really meant functional. Okay. And now I'm like, I have no space for that. Since I turned 40, I'm like, I want peace. I want everything very harmonious. I want it clear. I want everything that I do to have the greatest return, because I realize like I am over the halfway mark of my life. I really doubt I'm going to be 106. I really doubt that. So I recognize that I'm in a whole different phase, and I want to have as much impact, create as much legacy, create as much service, have as much return on my investments as possible. And so by having an intention, this overarching thread, not only for my year, but every month, dare I say week or day, it allows me to have a benchmark. Does this action, does this thought, does this feeling really align with what my intention is? And then what I do is I also look outwards, where it's like, okay, each year, each week, each month is not mutually exclusive, right? A lot of people tend to look at that way. I believe any moment, first of all, is a fresh start. You do not have to wait for a Monday. You don't have to wait to the beginning of the year. I grew up in the 70s and 80s, and for all the women, you already know the 70s and 80s were toxic as hell when it came to food and beauty standards. Okay? Very toxic. So it was always in my house like, oh, well, had that. I'm going to start a diet on Monday. I'm going to start a diet. And it was like always this like, oh, not right now. And when I got older, I was like, wait, why do I have to wait till, again, January 1st or February 1st or Monday? Every moment, every single second of the day is a fresh opportunity. And yet every moment is connected to everything else. So on one hand, you want to see the power of like, hey, I can do a reset. That's part of today. Reset, refocus, recommit. I can do that at any time. And I can also build on anything else that has happened. So when I'm thinking about my intentions, I think about, okay, when I was coming into this year, all right, this year is going to be a building year for me. My last building year was 2022, and 2023 and 2024 was continuing to stoke the flames, right? So I knew this year was going to be different, and I was thinking about my intentions from the other years. And I know that sounds probably like uber structured, and to a degree it is, but I'm also very free-flowing. This is not how I operated most of my life. I learned, nobody told me, but I learned why it was so valuable. And hopefully, because I'm not your parent, you trust me in the wisdom that I'm sharing with you. You don't have to do all of the extra legwork that I did. Just believe me when I tell you that if you have those guardrails, and first of all, an intention, each day you have that benchmark. If I want to feel successful, if this year is about visibility, or if this year is about thriving, what does that mean, and how does that impact the decisions I make? Okay, goals, measurable. In the scientific method, we talk about you have a concept, okay? In a way, you can say that's like your intention. And then you have what's called your operational definition, which is how do you actually define success? So Joanne, I had to ask, you said success 2.0, and I was like, I love using that term, but I had to hear, how do you, right, define that? How do you measure success 2.0?
So for me personally,
Yeah, or however, yeah.
so it's balance. That's really important to me. Success is not just about work. It's about all aspects of my life.
Yep.
So I'm continuously trying to work on the balance of that. It's my health. It's my this is like my second family here.
Yeah.
But I also have a first family.
Yeah.
So all of that kind of gets intertwined, and then it's trying to find time each day for all of that.
And then it's
all
measuring it. It's like, okay, well, if part of that is health, or, you know what I mean, wellness, am I taking a day off? What are my boundaries? Am I going to the gym consistently, right? Do I have quality time? Am I having meals with my family, right? Am I networking and connecting in a meaningful way? However you want to measure it. And for me, success 2.0 is the same. I always say it's having prosperity without it being at the expense of your wellness or joy. That is my success 2.0. And it is absolutely possible. And so the measurable part is, okay, well, what does that even mean? I'm saying I want more business. What does that even look like? I want to make more money. Well, what does that look like? So we want to put numbers, we want to define it, okay? That way, as you go through this, and I'll also send everybody my business planner signed up, you'll see that for 2026, it's a much more expanded version of what you have in front of you. It's really starting to plot those things and taking a look. So then every single day, actually, what may seem like structure to, first of all, my younger self, and maybe to you, is actually creating more freedom. It's actually creating more freedom. I call it structured freedom, okay? Because you've got those guardrails that I'm talking about, but within it, you have room to move. You're all in businesses where each day might be a little bit different, but you at least know, okay, what you're prioritizing that week. You know overall, right, what you're prioritizing that year. You know what your goals are, and then each day you can sort of adjust. Really, really helpful. Now, I've had people, you get to in one sec, who kind of resist this sort of thing. Doesn't have to be exactly the way I describe it. I'm a big proponent of you all have to find your individual sort of, purpose. You have to find your individual way of doing it. But anybody who really rallies or against this idea of like having any kind of structured freedom, like you probably shouldn't be an entrepreneur. Really, honestly. Otherwise, you can call it a hobby, but if you're just kind of free flowing every day, you have to do a real honest assessment about how much work you're actually doing. I have this woman who is, I love her. She's on the team for one of the principal agents who's my one-on-one client. And I finally was like, hey, I need you every day to log what you're doing, okay? Log what you're doing. Find out what time you're starting your day, like actually doing real estate related work. And she found it was like 2 hours, 1 or 2 hours. Like had to go get the dog and then get them coffee and then I have to take a shower and then, like do this and then the exercise class at 1 o'clock. And it's like, what the frick? That is a hobby. That is not actually your career. Okay. So that was very sobering for her to actually take a look at what she was doing. Now, I am not saying that you should not have days where you're walking the dog, getting coffee and going to exercise, but that's called a day off. Okay, truly, or it's called an afternoon off. And so for me, that's also part of being intentional. I don't just like float through my day. I have my client calls, and then on days I don't have client calls during the week, I'm like, okay, well, in the morning on a Monday, let's say, I'm like, I'm not going to actually start till noon because I don't need to. And once I start, I'm going to go ahead and go through my administrative stuff. I'm going to work on some content, and I'll work till 4 on my non-client day. Sometimes it's longer, but let's just say. And then the rest of that day is intended for me to do Success 2.0. I go to Pilates, I take a beach walk, or whatever it is. Client days, sometimes I can be working 8 to 10 hours and then doing administrative. But that's usually 3 intense days in the week, not 5 days. And I plan it that way. Each month, I know there is going to be at least one day where I don't get dressed. And I don't make a plan, just 1 day a month. I don't get dressed and I putter around the house. I watch some shows, maybe bake some stuff, right? Go take a walk on the beach and just kind of float around. But that 1 day a month is enough. I know myself that I actually don't need more. I used to feel like I wanted all these days. I actually get bored. I really like to be not productive, not busy. I like to be creative. I like to be creating things and seeing things happen. So for all of you, right, that might be something, and I have forgotten your hand, you might want to go ahead and take a look. How many hours are you actually working? What needs to be adjusted? If you're abiding by Success 2.0, for some of you, I'd be like, well, not really putting a lot into the business part of that equation. And some of you might be like, wow, I'm not putting anything into the wellness part of the equation at all. And you know what that means for you? You're not going to have sustainability in your business because you are going to burn out or you're going to get sick. Okay, pause on that high note. You had a hand up one.
I might be jumping ahead, but these guardrails, it takes discipline. Because if you're setting intention, executing, and then measuring them, and the results are not there, it might be that the results are not fitting in the space or in the window when you want them to be there. Like the results may happen later.
Let's go there.
Okay.
Let's go.
But when that happens, you start this loop. We're all human. It's like, that's how you sign up for too much coaching or whatever. It's like, you could evaluate it as like, I need better skills, or I need, this strategy doesn't fit today's market. So I need to learn this skill over here to fill that void. Right. So how do you, from your perspective, maintain that discipline and make those hard decisions when you're reflecting on it, to not say yes to too many things?
Well, you just opened 3 tabs in my brain, so get ready. I have like 3 tabs open. And so I'm going to address all of them. And you'll see it all applies to all of the stuff in all of the pages. First and foremost, setting goals, being intentional, all of those things, like having time audit, if you will, tracking your progress, all of that is fantastic. But you also have to be good at what you do to be successful. And, it's interesting. Oftentimes I'll hear people talking about tools and technology. They'll be talking about, intention and manifestation, which I'm a huge proponent on. But none of that, right, is going to help you if you're not actually good at what you do. So one of the things that I work with my clients is like, what does it look like for you and or your partner and or your team, depending on what their situation is, to actually operate at the highest level of excellence that is authentic to you? Right? What does that mean for your communication? What does that mean for your skill set? What does that mean for the training that you actually need? Do you need to see a therapist? Do you need to see a financial planner? I'm not joking about these things. Right? What do you need to get in order, right? So that you can actually operate. You cannot have a hot mess happening behind closed doors and expect that your business is going to be running well. So maybe you need to spend some time on cleaning that up, right? And then you can show up. And so you also, when you look at that, when you're honest, this is the other tab in my brain, I always say, one of my favorite quotes is, the degree to which a person can grow is the degree to which they can be honest with themselves. The degree to which a person can grow is the degree to which they can be honest with themselves. Be honest with yourself. I mean, I was in 2022, I turned 50 that year. I bought some investment properties for one of my best friends, which was great because we were hot messes when we were younger. We're like, oh my God, look at us turning 50. We have now our little LLC for our investment properties. That was so cool. I did my first TEDx that Joanne had mentioned, and I felt great. And so for 2023, I was like, shit, what are they now? And I was like, more. That's my word of the year, more. And then I was like, oh no, that's a real bad word. That was a bad word. And so I was like, nope, scratch that. I actually need to just kind of be steady. And then last year was expansion. I wanted growth, but with space. Okay. And so I was like, yeah, those 23 and 24 are not building years. They're sustaining years. They're nurturing years. This is a building year. My son turned 16. That's a whole new thing for me. We had a conversation. I was like, hey, do you feel ever neglected or anything? He's like, what? I said, well, I'm going to be doing some more traveling, but I don't know how much traveling I should take on for next year, because my priority is to be very present in this relationship. And he's like, oh my gosh. He's like, I'm so well adjusted. He's like, truly. And he meant that. He's like, I'm great. He's like, I know you. He's like, I want you. He's so cute. He's like, I'm so proud of you. Go do what you need to do. And I was like, okay, cool. It's like, let's strap on that seatbelt then, right? I haven't seen him in 2 weeks because I've been on the road, and that has not been like that all year. It's just been this 2 weeks. He's well taken care of. We talk every day. He's having a great time with some of our best family friends, living his best life. I'm living my best life. I wouldn't have done this when he was 6. I'm doing it because he's 16. So I was very honest with, even when he was born, I was like, okay, what do I do with this first year? My biggest thing was like, I'm not on social media for the first year that he's born. And it was easier in 2009, by the way, than now. I had a BlackBerry. I didn't have a BlackBerry at that point. I just had a flip phone in 2009. And then maybe by 10 or 11, I had a BlackBerry. But the point was, that was like, I'm not going to do that. And he would ask, how did you and Papa work taking care of me? Because he never had babysitters. It was only me, his dad, and my mom. And I said, well, none of us had conventional jobs. I was a professor, your dad's a contractor, your grandmother's an artist. I said, I also did different things. So I very much, created my career thinking about the various stages of life. That is part of that intention. And so be honest with yourself, going back to what you said, is this actually a year to build, or is this about something else for you? Maybe this is not your building year. I have a lot of clients, to be honest, that are women who are getting divorces. 2025 was not their building year. 2026 is their building year, but it wasn't 2025. So it's like, be honest. And so for me, I really want people to think about this stage of your life, this stage of your business, and this stage of your family or relationships. What makes sense if you want to also give those some time and attention? If you don't have a family of your own, not your family of origin, but your own family, and you're not in a partnership, right? It really kind of doesn't matter what age you are, but if you don't have those things, cool. What you can do and where you can be is totally different. And so part of it, going back to your question, is you have to ask yourself, did this make sense for me to even set this goal this year or this month? Does this really make sense? Am I really good at what I do? Because there's a lot of people that tell me a lot of things, and you know what I think? I'm like, you're ready for this? You're not. Can't do that right now. You have a lot of work to do to be able to, everybody's like, luxury, luxury. And I'm just like, you're not a luxury agent right now. It requires a completely different set of skills and sensibility. There's no shame in it. Work on that. Have this be a preparatory period for that. Be clear. Because otherwise, if you jump into things prematurely, guess what you say? What do you say when you jump into it prematurely?
I don't know. I was writing a note. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Just think about it.
I wasn't.
What happens if it doesn't work out? What do you say?
I failed.
I failed. These things don't work for me. Not for people like me. For those other people. No, that's not true. That's just a bullshit story. Do you know what I mean? So let's work on that. So those are a lot of answers to your question, but I think it's a really important question about how honest we get about those things. Now, here's the other thing that we can naturally segue into that I think is important. If there's somebody else who is single, or maybe even my age, who does not have a child that's 6 years old anymore, okay, whatever it is, who are out doing things, and you start getting pissed and resentful or comparing yourself, that's another pause moment. Okay, that's a really important pause moment. And there's a couple of things that you have to do there. One, do you really want what they have? I work with a really incredible roster of clients. They're regular folk people. They are, but they're working their stuff. But they have conflict in their families. They have self-doubt. The highest producing agents that I know, and I'm talking about, some of them are selling homes at between $45 and $80 million. They have self-doubt. They have relationship things. They're working on their health. But they're digging into this work. That is the really big difference. They have access to the same tools, same trainings, right? Same kind of leadership. I mean, I know this is exceptional leadership, I do have to say. But we have exceptional people at Compass. We have incredible sales managers across the country, right? We have an incredible CEO. So what is different, right? One is what they believe about themselves, and two is what they're choosing to do. There is really not a secret door in which all of a sudden you're like, wow, here are all of these skills, tools, and processes that everybody has kept from me. There isn't. Okay? Most of you know your business. Most of you know what's required. Most of you know where to go if you don't have an exit. Most of you know there is going to be some kind of a training or something available to you within this ecosphere or outside of this ecosphere that's going to help you solve that problem or whatever. But do you actually go seek that? Do you invest your time, money, or energy into that? That's something different, right? So this whole idea of comparing yourself doesn't make sense. Do you really want that? Are you willing to do those things? One of my friends that I've known since I was a waitress at the Cheesecake Factory in Woodland Hills, California, in my early 20s, we've had very different paths as we've gotten older. And there have been moments when she said to me, she's like, there are certain things you're doing or that you have or you're capable of doing, this freedom, financially or other things, or even at traveling. She's like, I'm really envious and I'm really jealous. And she goes, then I have to be honest with myself. I am not willing, nor was I ever willing at any step of the way as I watched you build your career, do any of the things that you did. So how can I be jealous? I was not willing to do that. So she was done with it. She didn't have to sit with that anymore, right? So that's a really important question. If you are looking at someone's relationship or their business, first of all, you don't know what happens behind closed doors. Okay. Some of the brightest, shiniest people are really messy behind the scenes, to be quite honest. And we're looking at it. Okay. The other thing is that actually may not be something that you really want. So why do that to yourself? Why tell yourself that you're jealous when it's not even something you want or willing to do? Focus on what you actually want, what makes sense. Again, for you, the time of life that you're in, the time frame of your family and your business. You're going to be so much better off. That's another guardrail, right? It's a mental one that's really, really important. Now, going into, a comparison where you're like, actually, I do want that. Okay, you're willing to do that? Yeah, I actually am. Great. So what do we do now? We turn that into an aspiration. Get rid of the jealousy. Get rid of the comparison. Work collaboratively. Ask questions. Allow yourself to be humble enough to seek mentorship. Ask the person who has the thing you want, ask questions. Don't see them as a threat. They probably won't see you as a threat. And I don't mean that like in a disparaging way, but if they're working here, they're probably going to be happy to collaborate without ego and to help. I find most people who are doing good and being good people are really happy to share. They're really, really generous. So if that is something that you truly want and you're willing to do, then go ahead, by all means, seek that as inspiration, as aspiration, and then start to work on one of the things in this packet. I don't know what page, and is also in the business planner. You want to start creating a picture of the version of you that has the thing that you want, that has achieved what it is that you want to achieve, that wants to create what it is that you want to create. Because here's the thing, that version of you doesn't exist right now. Because if that version of you did, what's the answer? You would have already done that. You would already have created that. You would already achieved that. It's a different version of you. And the truth is, just on a cellular level, we're constantly changing, right? Now, biologically, we're constantly changing. It's up to you if you are doing the mental, internal shifts to change. If you're willing to mentally and emotionally continue to keep pace with all of the other changes that are happening. And so for me, I worked as a professor for a long time, and that's a very different animal, okay? So in many ways, people who are seeking tenure, which I had, and then I resigned into tenure. What is the main reason people want tenure? Come on, you all know, even though you might not be an academic. That's right, that's it. And when I didn't tell the story yesterday. It's a good story. And by the way, I talk in stories. I knew it. I was already going about 45 minutes. I talk in stories so you remember things. That's part of my pedagogy, FYI. I was pulling up to the campus I was working at where I got in tenure, and the name of somebody in my office, row of cubicles, right? Her name was on the board as like employee of the month. I had a very tangible response. I was like, oh, God. Not because I wanted it. I did not want that. Go into my office. Everybody's like, oh my God, Ruth, I saw your name on the marquee. And I was like, that is the best fucking thing I ever do in my life. Get the hell out of here. It's like, I do not want that to be my greatest achievement, to be on the freaking marquee of this like school here, right? And I had already published books. I'd done other things, and it was not judging her. I was stoked for her. It was not my path. It's not mine. I knew when I was 22 and I met my first mentor, and I met her after I had gone on a death-defying road trip in Vegas to see the Grateful Dead. I was like, oh, I better get my life together. Okay, like let's get this in gear. Because I almost died a couple times on the trip. My friend and I, who we bought the properties in 2022, so I'm saying we were very stoked. We were shot at on the freeway, and the bullet went in the window behind my head and came in an angle and landed in her headrest and exploded, and a shard of the bullet ended up right here on her shoulder. Oh. And we didn't even know till the sun came up because we were driving at night. And all of a sudden, she's like, "Oh, I heard this noise." I was like, "Oh, rock." There were a lot of trucks on the 10 freeway going from LA to Vegas. And in the morning, as the sun's coming, I was like, "Oh my God, there's a bullet hole there." So it was one of those moments of like, hey Mel, what are you doing with your life? And I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to do something. I met my first mentor, and my mission, I was like, I want to be, and this is my FedEx, the link in that chain of empowerment and possibility. How can we be our full potential? How can we find freedom and joy in the things that we do? That was my mission. That's what I've been doing for 30 plus years. And for me, I was like, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen if this is a measurement of success. I don't want it. I gave my tenure, my resignation. They're like, you know that you're only 2 years away from. I'm like, you mean not having to do anything anymore? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't want that. So there are these moments where we really, right, are kind of called up and asked to, why are we doing this? And that's the other thing that I wanted to come to. You didn't quite ask it, but as you were forming your question, I was thinking it, and it's on the sheet, and it's going to also be in the business planner. You need to know, and I know people talk about it all the time, what's your why? And it starts to sound really cliche, but I can tell you right now, nothing I do is surface level, for real. So when I ask you your why, it has to be a resounding reason. Because if you're really looking to create something transformative and something very different and exciting from what you have now, you have to have something very compelling to continue to stoke the flame. Otherwise, it is very easy to collapse. In the same way, if you're not building in your wellness, you will not have sustainability. If you don't have a compelling why, you will not have sustainability. So my client Meredith, who she does 1 million GCI every year. So when we were planning about last October, so gave me the number again. I was like, okay, why? Well, Mel, I need to make 1 million every year to sustain my business, my family. Like that is a really sucky reason. That's a should. I have to. That is pressure. I don't know about you, but I don't really like people telling me what to do, not from an authoritarian stance. And I also don't like feeling pressured into something that maybe my gut is not into. Doesn't work for me. I said, Meredith, that sucks. Like, do you have something else? She's like, yeah. She's like, it's really important for me to have my daughter see what I'm capable as a woman. And I want her to know that she has choices in her life, that she doesn't have to get married, which is something I thought I had to do when I was younger, because I thought I was stupid. I didn't think I was capable, all of these things. And so I was like, I don't know, I guess I'll get married. I guess isn't that what I do to make sure I eat? Isn't that what women did in the Victorian era too? Like it's part of our legacy. And so for Meredith, it was very important. She's like, I want my daughter to have agency, self-efficacy. I want her to have sovereignty. And if she's in a bad relationship, I want her to have her own decision to make. That's your why. That's a banging why, Meredith. So think about your why, right? There's got to be something that compels you, because you know what? Talking about choices, you don't have to be doing what you're doing. Did you all know that? You don't actually have to be in this business. You could be doing a whole bunch of other things. There are very explicit reasons that you're here. So I'd love to actually hear from a couple people, why are you in this business? And maybe what do you like about this business? I hear from like 2 people. Why are you in this business? What do you like about it?
I like the lack of routine and sameness.
Great. Dynamic. Okay.
I love talking to people.
Do you?
I
Okay.
love the interaction.
Yeah, it's great, right?
Love it.
Yeah. Anybody else? Yeah.
It's always changing.
Okay.
Building business structure.
Isn't it gratifying? Yeah.
I love that my earning potential is high as it.
Can we name that? Can we freaking name that? Yeah. It's incredible. And yes,
I love to help people.
yeah, there you go. And have a high earning potential. Let's pair it together, right? Yeah, these are great reasons. And yes,
I think my reason is to serve other people is helping them get into a house.
fantastic. And I like to say, and getting paid well. Sometimes when I get the like service oriented, and I'm like, and remember that as well. Like they can go together. Because sometimes when I work with people, there's almost like a shame in how much they're earning. They give a lot of things away. I'm like, I see what you're all doing. You're earning your commission. You don't have to feel ashamed what you're doing. I mean, look at this stuff. You're spending time here doing this, right? Skills training, talking to people, network. Like there's a lot of moving parts, right, in this industry. Same with mine. And honestly, what you all do is not that different of mine than what I do. You are a conduit for your client's investment, as am I. You're holding space, right, for your client and helping them navigate the most seamless way that they can. I'm doing the same thing. It's very gratifying. It's different all the time, but it does require you to be good at what you do, be consistent at what you're doing. And it can't just be the fun, sparkly things. It can't just be the sexy things. It has to be all the things. And the things that you don't want, delegate to someone else, or do it for enough time where you earn enough money where you can hire someone else or whatever it happens to be. But the reason I bring this up, in addition to the intentions, the goals, your why, right, your accountability that we've talked about, I also want to say you've got to have some joy. You need to have some enthusiasm about it. So if we're talking about how things feel, joy feels good. And when you feel it in your body, it's like your stomach relaxes, your chest opens up, you can breathe a little more deeply, right? When you're in fear, scarcity, worry, comparison, it is tight, it is constricting, it feels tense. Joy and gratitude, I talk about them as the two pillars. The more gratitude you have, the more joy you experience. The more joy you experience, the more gratitude you have. That is a really great source of renewable energy for you all. Truly. So if you can prioritize that, I'm watching the time. Oh, no. Okay, I just want to tell you. I just want to tell Joanne.
No, you can keep going. This is fantastic. I'm trying to figure out how to shut my phone off so it doesn't keep going.
But those things help you to keep going and have enthusiasm. Like it's very rare that I don't like someone that I work with. Okay. There might be a moment I'm like, oh, it's a little annoying, it's a little tedious. It's very rare. Even that. There's joy about what I do. And I also, honestly, I say it all the time, I want the best people. Not the best agents, although that is part of the equation, but just the best humans, good people. It is so gratifying. If you're not a good human, I don't care if you can pay me. I don't want to work with you. I had a woman last year in LA, she could have paid me a year straight out. It's a high investment. And I was like, I'm sorry, I don't think you're a fit. And I knew she did bad business. She screwed over other agents. For her, it was only about that, right? But I want to work with people who definitely consider that than all of the other things that you said, right? So I find joy. If I look at my calendar and it's really stacked, yes. Do I have a moment? I'm like, ooh, tomorrow's the near the end of the day. And then I look at all the names. I'm like, oh my God, fantastic. I'm so excited to see all these people. They're wonderful, right? So if you can stoke that joy, that enthusiasm, remember not only why you have these goals, why are you choosing to do this? Why are you in this industry to reach your goals, right? And you remember why you chose this. It's going to be much easier to continue to do what you're doing and to be better at what you're doing. And you will literally radiate that to people. Because there's something called mirror neurons. You set the stage, you set the tone. And if you don't set the tone, the other person sets the tone. So when you do that, it will naturally, it is infectious. There is tons of work in the realm of positive psychology on joy and gratitude as emotional contagions. And what that means is it spreads. Just like fear or anxiety spreads, right? So if you're going to go ahead and do this work, you set the tone and framework for any of the conversations you have with clients or peers. And if you see that they're really battling consciously or unconsciously, you do not have to be part of that conversation, by the way. One of my clients last night, oh my God, we met this morning and she said, last night was my book club. And this last week politically has been really intense. And they have a tendency to come over and they love to just dump and get in the muck. And she's like, I just didn't want it. She's like, so I put a note on the door that said, welcome, take a deep breath. Before you walk in the door, leave any of your anger or strife outside and come in to enjoy the time together. And she said it was a completely different experience. She's like, I just don't want that. I don't want to do that. I know how it makes me feel. And she said, Mel, I am safeguarding my optimism and my joy. She's not in toxic positivity or spiritual bypassing or any of that stuff. She's like, I just don't need to take that on. How does that change anything by me taking on that stuff? So another theme here for all of you, right, is you have chosen to work in this industry. You could do something else. And if you tell me that you couldn't, I'm going to show you why that is false. Because you're like, well, what does that mean? Do I have to start a new career? Yeah. Why I want to do that? Oh, I guess you're choosing to be here. Right? And we can go on. But you have a choice about this. You also have a choice about the way you feel. You have a choice about the conversations that you're having. And you can create boundaries where you don't have to engage in things that are not useful for what you're looking to achieve. You don't. The one who's envious of me that I shared, I still love her. I don't hang out with her as much. Not because she told me she's envious, that doesn't matter, but because she's fucking negative. She does no growth work at all. Oh my God, I now need to lose like 100 pounds. It used to be 30, then it was 50, then it was 70, then it was 100. And I was like, you haven't done anything. Like, I don't, like, why are you telling me this unless you're going to do something? Right? I'm like, oh gosh, and her marriage, like, falling, like, for 15 years, it's just, I'm like, what? I don't understand. She feels she has zero choice. And she does. And it's very hard for me to watch. I have empathy. She's still my friend, but I'm like, I don't need to be hanging out with her every weekend. I don't want to have these conversations. I very carefully choose the people I spend time with, including all of you, by the way. I'm very conscientious about that. I'm conscientious about the people I invite in my house. Truly. I remember my dad came over and he was like, he left that afternoon. He's like, wow, Mel, he's like, I just walked into your house and it felt so peaceful, felt so good. I was like, yeah, I'm really intentional about who fills the space and what they leave behind. Get the sage, whatever. But you get my point. So I'm gonna wrap up in a few because I don't want to take up too much of your time. We're already at time, but I'm gonna probably go about 5 more minutes. So I've kind of given you a variety of variables for you to put together. And I'm gonna just really quickly recap that. You want to set some intentions for yourself, for the year, for your months, you do for your day. On a real micro level, like I told the people at Beach Street, set intentions for calls that you're gonna make, for the networking that you're doing. That's your intention. Are you looking to get referrals? Are you looking to meet a certain amount of people? Are you looking to just have a good time? That's an intention. And so if you go network, you're like, I just want to have a good time. Like my one client's like, I just want to go to Nantucket and have fun. Cool. So if you come back and you haven't gained your referral business, no problem. You don't have to get mad at anybody. You chose to go and have fun, which she has the right to do, as long as the other spaces that she's occupying, she's doing some work. That's fine. Just know what you're doing, right? You're going to set some goals. You want to have things that are measurable, timely, which is why in the back I said, what's a micro action? What's the date? You're going to complete this by October 1st. And then what else are you going to do, right? You track it. You've got the tools. You've got the systems. It's easy. Like, use it. That's why you're paying, you're part of the split. So you can have these things. Know why you feel compelled for those numbers, for those goals. Right? How are you going to feel achieving that? What is that for on the bigger scale, from the really intrinsic, impactful, inspiring scale? Remember that you have choices all the time about how you spend your time, the actions you take or don't take, right? The conversations you have. If people are pulling you into negative rapport talk, which is relationship conversation, you don't have to like walk away. You can, like, oh, I'm gonna go do something else. But you could also just be there, but you don't have to engage. You don't have to agree. Oh, I can understand that. You don't have to say, yeah, me too. You don't have to do that. You'll be like, oh, I understand that. Yeah, I can see how you feel that way. That's fine. That's great. You're being present for that person. You're being kind, but you don't have to engage. You're like, oh yeah, me too. That really sucks. And you may not even feel it that way. People pleasers in the room, right? So you want to watch those things. You have more choice, agency, and authority over your own life and business than you even know in this moment. You really do. Think about the things that you really want. Be honest with yourself. Be honest with your goals. Be honest with your timing. Be honest with what you're willing to do and what you're not willing to do. And then have ownership. Own that. So that way, guess what? You don't get to blame anybody. You don't have to be resentful. You don't have to be angry. Good, you can do away with that. Yeah. I was supposed to show up for this thing and I didn't. And now I, lost this thing or this happened. Yeah, well, own it. And if you don't like that result, great. So I can do something else. Okay. So those are just a few things to really think about. And then it also is the accountability structures, your habits, and your strategies. So you'll find in that, as well as the business planner, it asks you what are some strategies and or habits that are working really well for you that you want to continue. Great, name those, keep doing that. What are some that you could probably do better? And make the changes. Get some new training, refine some systems, get a VA, whatever it is that you need to do. And finally, this is the best one. What are the things, the habits, the strategies, and practices I have avoided that I'm going to slowly in baby steps bring into the fold? Okay? And how can I really operate at the highest level of excellence that makes sense authentically for me? So you don't become a robot, okay? But for me. And I can tell you, every single person, even Mark, even Joanne, even myself, we can still continue to be better and do better. And the differentiator are the people who choose to meet that ask, to meet that moment of doing better and being better. It's not that they're perfect. It's that they are going, yeah, I can see where I can do it. So if anything, I hope I have inspired you, no matter what your years look like, Q4 can be great. Q4 can be great. And the very last thing that I think is a really important differentiator is maybe you have to adjust your goal. Maybe you have to make an adjustment one way or another. And so the last little concept that I want to give you that I really like, and maybe Tanya, where is she? Maybe you can help me with this one. If you remember, I'm trying to think on the spot. The difference between a stretch and a strain goal. Now I said, so maybe it's not a building year for you and you're like, I just want to be steady. But maybe if you're like, no, I want to expand things. So what is a stretch goal? I know you have one, Tanya.
Stretch goal would be a goal that you know it's going to take a little effort,
Extra effort.
but it feels attainable, but you're going to be working hard to get there.
Well, yeah. And by the way, I'm really big on semantics. You may not be working hard. You may be working differently. You may be working in a new way, but you know, you're like, it's a stretch. It's not right here, but it's not like where I'm going to fall out of the chair or fall over the cliff. It's a stretch. That's a healthy
some
stretch.
intention behind it.
Yes, you've got the intention behind it, and you're willing to do the stretch. A strain is where you really like collapse in on yourself, and truly, your nervous system starts to collapse, where it feels so unattainable, so out of reach that it's no longer aspirational. It's shaming. It's overwhelming. Don't do that. Don't do that to yourself. Like, why? If you're like, well, because I'm willing to work around the clock. Okay, cool. Then that's your choice too. I would not recommend. But if that's what you feel like you can do for only 6 months, okay. But I would usually say, don't do a strain goal. Don't do a strain. Pick a stretch, not a strain. And so as you're thinking about Q4, I really want you to feel like, hey, you know what? I probably can do more, be more, have more, create more if I complete this, get honest with myself, seek support and accountability than I expected. And here's the important thing, because you know what Q4 really is? It's your gateway to 2026. Okay? And that's why I'm going to send you all the 2026 business planner. And it's also why I'm the first speaker that Joanne has coming in, so that by the time we get to late October, right, you've got a really firm business plan in place that has got intention, it's got numbers, it's got habits, strategies, practices, maybe also include some great books or podcasts, so you're feeding this, right, healthy things as well. And I think that you will probably find that the Burlingame office is going to continue to be known as one of the most efficient, effective, and profitable offices in this entire NoCal area. I have no doubt about that. So thank you so much for having me. You're welcome to go. You are welcome to float. But if you have questions now, or you can talk to me, anything burning, come talk to me if you want to, or not. Thank you so much.